Hi everyone. Hi, and thanks for joining me today in August, but it seems almost like October, November here, doesn't it? And by the looks of it, it does seem like that where you are as well. Dear, oh dear, whatever happened? Um, yeah, I contemplated putting the heating on this morning because I was cold, but my husband said no. Anyway, I thought we'd do a mix of the old and the new today. So you can see here that I've got a bit of a selection. Hold on just one second. One second. Sorry. No staff. You know what it's like. No staff. Um, so I've got a collection here. We have got from the new selection of John Lockwood, we've got the Snowflake Mandala, which is really, really pretty. We've also got the snowflake corners, which I think are one of my favourite corners ever. And then from an old one, which is the Deer Scenes. Now, this one is not available anymore, but you may have it already in your stash because it was such a popular die set a couple of years ago, I think now. I think we did bring it out again last year as well, but there is no longer any available. Now, for the card that I'm going to do today, you could actually use, if you have already got Winging on its way to you, some may already have had it, the Snow Days stamp that we had on Sunday, because this would go really well with it as well. So, you know, mix and match, I think, is the idea of this. So old with the new. So here are the dies. I've taken them out of their packets there for you to be able to see the ones that I'm going to use. So these are the corners. And they come in 4 in a pack, which I think is brilliant because we can then cut out all 4 corners in one go without having to keep going backwards and forwards with a small die, which is time consuming and annoying. So we don't have to do that. We have got one of the deer scenes. There's 2 in the pack, 2 like this type of thing. If I show you the packet again, you'll see you've got one like that with the trees, one with just the deer, and you've also got, well, let's face it, you should have the deer separately. Have I got them anymore? Nah. Well, not in that packet anyway. And I've also got the snowflake, what do we call this one? Hold on, sorry. Snowflake Mandala, is it? Yeah, Snowflake Mandala. Now, it's a really lovely die. It's about 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres, so it's just ideal for what we're going to do today. But I'm actually going to use only the outer die, but you have got 3 other dies that go with it. So, but I'm only going to use the outer die. So let us make a start. I'm going to put them to one side so that they're not very far away. And I'm going to show you that we are going to be using a 7 by 7 card blank, 7 by 7. And then I've already taken the opportunity to cut out my first base. And that one is sort of 6 3/4. No, I beg your pardon, 6 1/2, because actually when I measured this card, it was actually, although it's sold as a 7 by 7, it's actually 6 3/4. I don't know whatever happened to that. I reckon that that's the same with clothes, because I'm sure that I could fit into a size smaller than I now can. And I think they've just changed the sizing, don't you? A bit like these used to be called 7 by 7, and now it's actually, in reality, 6 3/4. It's not on. Anyway, I have a piece of card, black card, because I'm going classy, and we have got that one measured at 16 1/2 by 16 1/2. I've also pre-cut a piece which is 16 by 16, okay? And in that one, I'm going to place my outer die of my snowflakes. So I'm going to, if at all possible, get that in the middle. It is only roughly, and as long as it is as near to damn it, as my mum used to say, then I reckon we're okay. So more or less in the middle. If you wanted to be pedantic, you could get one of the clear templates and you could hover that over the top. but I reckon that that's about okay there. So I'm going to tape that into place, and I'm going to run that through my machine and just take out that piece. Okay. Yeah, I think you'll find that my deer have gone running. They have also gone running with the deer from the Four Seasons, because I thought, oh, I know, I'll use that one. But no. I think they've all gone off together into the sunset, don't you? They're probably in with something summer-like, but I would have no idea that that's where it was. But hey-ho, hey-ho. So you can see that that cuts out and leaves the middle bit as well. And so with our other dies that were in the set, you can then use all these little pretty ones that can cut out from the middle of there as well. And then that will give you that as a snowflake too. So it's all really pretty, but we're actually not going to use any more than just the outer one today. So that will leave us, that's the actual snowflake. But that is today my waist, and clearly perfect for another card. So I'm just going to put that to one side for now and use that for another card, because I want to use this as my aperture today. And that is going to fit onto there later on, but not at the moment. So that's my card basis getting going. Okay. So I'm going to take a sheet of, or rather a blending piece of cards, and I'm going to take a piece of white card, which I've trimmed down to 14 by 14. The reason why I've chosen 14 by 14 is that it will cover my snowflake nicely. Yeah, you can see that. And I want to actually ink this and colour this. So I'm going to do this in a very similar way than we did on Sunday. I'm going to take, this time I'm going to use Distress ink, not the oxide, and I'm going to use the prize ribbon, which is the new blue. And I'm just going to, but I'm going to do what we did before, which was just bring these colours in and just make a sort of a 2/3 of it as a blue sky. Now you can see that it comes in a really vibrant colour, and all we're doing is laying loads and loads of ink because we're making it into a night sky like we did before. So we just need to make sure that we've got that colour down on here. And again, I'm going to take it a little bit further down, but I'm sort of petering it away because we're not going to make it quite the silhouette type shape as I did before, because that's not quite how we're going. But we can give room for a little bit of nighttime sort of colouring, if you see what I mean. So I'm just going to build that up. So again, makes it a really nice colour. And I'm just going to sort of run my colour down here, as I will be using all of the card, but not all of, you won't see all of that pattern in all of the colours. Okay, so I've got my colour down. Lid back on that one. So there's my colour to start off with. Now, I wanted to put a tree in this, and I had to find some sort of a tree, and I really wanted a fir tree, but I wanted a stamp as opposed to the actual die. The reason why I wanted that is I want my deer to be prominent, and if I put a tree in, it's going to detract, I felt. So therefore, I found myself a very old stamp that I've got, which is a tree. Don't even know where it came from, to be honest with you. It's even a red rubber one, so it is an old one, very much so. So because it's red rubber, I need to take out my base there, my rubber base, and I'm going to pop that into position, hold that down. And I want to put my tree sort of here-ish, in the middle-ish. Okay, so just about there. That should do that quite nicely. But before I do, just going to check that my tree would all be included, which it would. So all is well. And we'll bring it fraction down. So I'm going to stamp that, and I'm going to stamp it up with some VersaFine Clair in black or Nocturne, because I just want this black image here. So you could use any tree stamp that you got. You could, of course, use a die, but I prefer to use a stamp, and it's an old one that I've got. So again, not available, but I'm sure you have something in your stash that you could use. Okay, so there's a lovely tree just like that. So let's take that out of the way. Now, I do think, however, we ought to use the little sprinkles. So again, these are winging their way to you. These are the new Cosmic Shimmer embossing sprinkles by Francoise Reed, and they are called Snowstorm, which, as their name suggests, gives you a little touch of a snowstorm. So I thought we'd use that again, and I'm just going to put a very small amount onto my night sky. I don't want that great big blob, I don't think. That's better. And I'm just going to heat my gun up and heat this from underneath, so that we just get that little sprinkling of snow. Just put the lid on there. Whilst I'm putting the lid on there, I will say I have a secret. You could say it's a fetish, but it isn't a fetish. One day I will do it, because they're not that expensive, are they? But I would love, this is a secret, don't tell anyone. I would love to pour some embossing powder in a lump and melt it so that it's one big blob. There you are. Now you know that that's what I'd like to do. So I'm going to heat this from underneath, just so that my embossing sprinkles just melt. I don't want it to go too mad, but we do want it to set. It's a hard I've got today. Just set the sprinkles. So that it just gives that effect of snow from behind it. And as we said before, unlike with a little pen where they could start moving, this is not going to. This is going to stay where it is, and it gives you that lovely effect of snow, which I like. A little bit of snow. Okay. So just straighten out that. It also dries off the ink a bit more, which is handy. So now I'm going to cut out my dies, my deer dies. My dear dies. And these are done so that they're actually on, they don't cut out just like that. They will cut out the deer, but they have got like a never-ending line there, which is handy, because I want to be able to cut actually away this little one, but extend this possibly a little bit. So I'm going to put that down there. I'm just going to tape that into position. Actually, I'm going to give it a little bit more, bringing it up a little bit more, because I'm not quite sure how much space I need down here, and I can always cut that bit off if I need to. So I'm just going to run that through my machine as well. Oops. And take my little deer away. And you can see that that's cut out, but it's like on an edge, so I can extend that edge, which is what I want to do just for the moment. So I'm going to trim that bit there, so then that moves away, and then I'm just going to go along that edge and just trim it randomly. I'm not needing to do that. I'm going to keep that bit because I want to cut my corners out from there in a minute. So here is our lovely deer. and I can see why they were such a popular one. I'm just going to sort of get together how we want this to go. So this is going to be on my background. This is going to be shining through, shall we say, and our little deer are going to go like that. But I want to put them so that my main deer, my stag, is on the side there so that we can see him properly. So that's the picture that we're going to be looking at through the aperture that the snowflake left, which I think is quite nice. Now, I must say, one of the design team, one of John's Angels, did a similar type of thing to this, which gave me the idea of being able to look through and use the waste, which I just think is a brilliant idea. But I'm afraid to say I don't know who it was. So as all the angels, I'm just going to chop this bit off, do such a wonderful job. So if that lady is watching, then, or it could have been one of John's, I suppose. I don't know, really. But, you know, really a good idea. And I felt that we would go with this. So you could use any stamp or anything. Now, this little deer on this side, I can't see him or her. So I'm actually going to chop him off in his prime. And he does look a bit funny. I chopped off one earlier and I thought it looks a bit like a pig. Can you see that? Because his legs have been cut short, it looks very slightly like a pig. Whatever. So I'm going to now stick this one into position, but I do want to just check that that is where I want it. So I can trim that little bit off there, actually. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue and I'm going to stick that. No, I'm not going to put a bit of foam on there. I'm going to raise it up a little bit. That's a good plan. So I just put a little bit of foam behind that so that it raises it up just a fraction. And then we'll put a little bit on the back of the deer, the stag, and a little bit on his, I was going to say it's what is his wife, but I'm not sure whether it is or not really with those antlers. Don't know. Do lady deers have antlers as well? Don't know. Right. Let's just take the backings off of this, and I will put a little bit of glue on here as well. Oh, can't even get hold of that one today. Come here, come here. Right, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue on there so that it does stay stuck. Just like that. Oh, do that with my right hand, not my left. Oh, blimey. There we are. So I'm just going to make sure that my deer is over to the side there. Yeah, that looks better. It certainly looks better in real life to have that deer standing out a little bit. Can you see what I mean? Looks as if it's much more in the foreground. Now, therefore, this little one is going to go over the top of that. So I need to attach that with some foam at the background of that. So let's get my card piece first. So there's my card base. I'm going to make it a top folding one. And I'm going to first of all stick my first base down. And if you recall, this piece measures 16.5 centimetres by 16.5 centimetres. Okay, so that's going to go on, leaving a nice little white border all the way around. Then we've got our picture that's going to go flat onto here. Now I am going to stick it on with double-sided tape because as I've heat embossed it, it is a little bit wobbly. So I'm just going to be sure that when I put all this in place, that that is in the right place. And I want it over that way a little bit, I think. So yeah, so it's going to go just about there. So I'm going to put a little mark because no one will see. Because that will all be hidden. So I've got a little mark there, whoops, and another one, just where I want that to be. So I'm going to turn that over. and use some of my double-sided tape. And as I said, I only really use the double-sided tape if I want to be sure that it's going to stay absolutely flat. Where I've had to put some ink on it, it warps it very slightly, and I don't want it to do that. So if I do it with the tape, and then I can put a little bit of extra glue on top of it as well, I can be sure that it's going to lay down nice and flat. So let's just put a little bit of glue on there as well, and in the centre. Bring my card back in, and because I've measured off where I wanted it to go, because it's not going to go in exactly in the middle, this one, I can just pop that down into place and just make sure. And then because I've got that tape on, it's giving it a really nice flat piece to work from, which I prefer. So we're then going to pop this on. Now this will need some tape, so we need to put tape around the edges for that as well. I'll use my white tape for that one, and I'm going to use a 3mm tape just to give it just a little bit extra. I'm just going to put that tape on all 4 sides. We've had some lovely samples on the Facebook. Nicola, you seem to have been going great guns at it, so well done. And lots of people have been using the cascading card in all sorts of lovely ways with the poinsettias, which, by the way, are back in stock. Penny's baubles, there are literally, I think, 2 left. So if anyone's been on the fence thinking about the Penny's baubles, do get them, because that's it. They are out of stock then. The suppliers do not have any more of Penny's baubles. So they have been such a popular one on this collection. And I'm not surprised, because they are just, we love our deer, don't we? We do love our deer. Now, do you know what? Before I put that away, I just want to put a little bit there. I make it up as I go along, don't I? Just think that a little bit there would give, that's better. Just give a little bit extra support. So it's quite a wide area. So I'm just going to put a little bit extra there. And as I said, this is the 3mm one. I've got that in stock today. There's the normal one is 2mm, but I have now got this one in stock as well. So just put a bit of extra glue to hold this on. And I love that this is actually the waist of this card, which is brilliant. So I'm going to hover this over the top, because I want to put it down so that it has got a little border all the way around, if at all possible. Looks about right to me. Just gently just push that in, like so. Now, put that to one side, and I'm going to take my scrap piece that I had here, where I cut my deer from, and I'm going to put my corners here. So we can cut these all out in one go. No problem from there. Obviously, I need to tape them into position, because otherwise they're going to be moving about a bit much, and we don't really want that. So I'm just going to use some of the tape that I had there and just run that through our machine as well. And these just give a really, really pretty corner to it, a decorative corner, which I just think finishes this card. I hope you will agree. At the moment it's looking good, but it just needs just that little something. And I believe that this is the little something that we need. So take them off of there. They're just so delicate. I really ought to get into the method of putting it all back where it came from, shouldn't I? So let's try. We could try. We could try. As for clearing out the dies beforehand, well, no, that's going a bit far, isn't it? So here is my little corners. We just need to take out some of those pieces. And as with all these dies, it just falls out. Obviously, you know, the dies are brilliant, and your die cutting machine is the one that will take away, hopefully, any effort whatsoever. If you have any problems with cutting out delicate dies, always think of using a metal shim. We do the metal shims that are the ones that don't rip your fingers to pieces, and I think that they are sort of for any machine, so they're really handy. And I always, you know, if I do get stuck, that is where I would put them. But in actual fact, when it's a delicate die like this, I would put this on right from the start anyway, just to be sure. Take the last little bits out here. Imagine having to cut all these out by hand. Well, I suppose you just wouldn't, would you, really? You just wouldn't. It wouldn't even come into the setup, would it? You just wouldn't think of doing that. Right, so we better get sticky specs nearby now, I reckon. Oh, no, we hadn't, because I'd run out of it. Oh, well, okay then. Plan B. Plan B. Plan B is we can use our very fine here. So these little treasures are going to go into the corner like this. And it will sort of have two effects. It will bring your eye further into here because you've done them in the black. And that's the colour I would go with. I wouldn't go with a shiny colour here, personally, because I think that the shiny colour would detract, because our focal point is supposed to be this bit here, not these corners. These corners are for the embellishment side of it rather than anything else. So, should have got myself some sticky specs back up from in the stores, and I forgot. So subsequently, by hand it is. So I'm going to put them all into the corners, and I'm going to leave a little space, more or less the same amount of space between the layers, so that we've got, so that it looks sort of, you can see that, it looks nice that it's all in the layers there. So I need to go around and do these as well. So I hope that you do seem to be very busy with all your projects. Seems to be all sorts of projects going on. Weddings even again, which is quite nice to see that there's some wedding cards coming along. New babies, all sorts, as well as Christmas. When my delivery man comes and he says, "Oh, that's heavy. What's in there?" More Christmas. Oh, don't talk to me about Christmas. It's a happy chappy. So as far as we can, we're going to get this one evenly done there. I aim for the corner first and then just gently lay those pieces down there as well. Into the next corner. Good job there's only 4 corners, isn't there? Otherwise you'd have all nodded off by now. So just, you don't need too much glue, and you could always you know, put some on the back of your hand or down on the mat, or however you wish to have them there. Preferably sticky specs, but if you haven't got them, we'll work out another way, eh? And then last corner in here. And then there's just one thing, and I'm not 100% sure on this one. I'm not sure whether I'm going to leave it, or I have already cut out a sentiment, but I'm not sure about the sentiment. So we'll have to see how we go with that. I love the sentiment, but I'm not sure whether it fits in very well with this. So we will see. So let's just put my last corner in. And the detail of those dies is just beautiful, with the snowflake in the middle and then all the lovely swirls. Just really lovely. So let us just see whether we think the sentiment that I've cut out is going to work. I suspect not at this stage now, having looked at it all. So this is the sentiment that I cut out, sending love at Christmas. You can see that there. But I suspect it's too big. Yeah, I can't really see it, can I? It's lost. It's lost. So what else have we got? We could leave it. We could leave it. We could leave it, but let me just have a look at my little dies to see if there is anything that might fit in. I do tend to keep, here we are, here's a selection. I do tend to keep some of these ones small and on the plate, so that if I think, oh yeah, I could use that one. And I'm just thinking whether this little one would work. I'm not sure. I'm going to cut it out, and I'm actually thinking that I might leave it without a sentiment in, but I'm just going to try and see what this one looks like. In all honesty, I think it might have been better that if I was to actually stamp a sentiment on, that I might have done that earlier. But great things and all that sort of thing. Or I could use one of my strips, couldn't I? That might be the answer as well. Let's just see. This is one of the newer dies from Sue Wilson, one of the mini expressions that says Merry Christmas, which is very pretty. But whether it will fit and not detract, I don't know. So last chance saloon. Just take all the little bits out because we can't see what it looks like otherwise. Yeah. What do you reckon? What's your thoughts on that one then? Do we need to put that in, or do we leave it without? Or do we put it in at the top? Without. Can't quite decide. I think possibly without, to be honest. I think it sort of detracts, doesn't it? It might have been better if we just had. Oh, I'm fiddling. I'm not going to fiddle. I might fiddle in a minute. I'm just thinking whether one of the little strips. Oh, you're all saying, yeah. You're all, nearly all saying without, and I think too much, don't you? I think that is just quite classy. But don't forget, with this middle bit here, you could use all sorts of things. So we have used today the Deer Scene die, which you may have from previous times. But the stamps that you may have coming in your way may well be what you want to use. And that was the snowy days or the happy holidays, all sorts of things. They could be just that stamp in the background there. You could also just use a piece of glitter card. You could use your aperture that you've got here for the snowflake, and you could actually build that snowflake up. So because that's, if you look at the packaging, absolutely beautiful. And that is using those corners that we've got here as well, but using that, which I just think is lovely. And that's just the simple, straightforward way of doing it. But I liked when I saw this selection with using it as an aperture, I thought, yeah, I like that. And it leads itself. I'm sure you've got some other stamps, the little Nellie Snellen or the 2J's ones from last year, the deer looking out from the forest and things like that would all look so lovely in the background, and perhaps with a little tot or two of snow. Okay then, so one word at the top and one at the bottom. I'm going to try that now you've said that. I'm going to actually chop this one. You have to be quiet when I do this. Merry. What do you reckon of that then? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I just sometimes think cards can actually be okay without any message on at all because it's pretty obvious it's a Christmas card. But I think that actually looks better, doesn't it? Yeah, yeah. I think maybe we go for that. I'll tidy it up a little bit because it does look just a little bit, a tad daft like that. I will tidy it up and pop that on there so that we've got Merry Christmas after all. Yeah? Oh, yes, that's decided then. That's decided. We all like that. So there we go. If there is anything that is current, so i.e. the snowflake Mandala, I was going to call it a bauble, snowflake Mandala, snowflake corners, Merry Christmas, the ink prize ribbon or the embossing sprinkles. Not quite sure if there's any left of those actually. Not for a while anyway, but those are all over on the website. They're all available, but I'm afraid to say my little deer and my stamp are from my own stash and no longer. They're discontinued a long time ago, and I don't even know where the stamp came from, to be honest with you. So thank you very much for joining me today. The colour blue that I've used is prize ribbon. It's the new blue from Tim Holtz Ranger, and I've used it in the distress ink this time because I wanted a deeper colour. The oxide colour, the oxide ink of it is a lighter colour. It's like you can see through it, and this one is like really, really dark, which is what I wanted. I will be back on Sunday morning, which is the 22nd, isn't it? Oh, yes. Oh, I can't tell you what it is. I couldn't think what I was doing, but now I remember, and it's a secret, so I can't tell you. So there you go. But that's on Sunday. So Sunday morning, the 22nd of August at 11, I shall be back here. In the meantime, I'm doing a lot of Christmas things, packing up the last orders that came through. So enjoying myself quite happily here. So thank you very much. Hope you all have such a lovely day. Take care, keep safe, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye.